Hey everyone, thinking about adding a VSS developer to your team. Super smart move, especially if you're dealing with legacy code. Or you just need someone who can really handle version control, like a
Yeah.
pro.
You're definitely on the right track.
But honestly, figuring out this whole VSS developer world can feel a little overwhelming. Right.
It can be a bit of a maze.
Exactly. So many questions. Where do you
Yeah.
even start? Well, that's where this mini deep dive comes in. We're going to break it all down for you in under 9 minutes.
We'll cut through the jargon, give you the essential insights you need to make the right call.
Exactly. So you can find that perfect VSS developer, one who will not only manage your code base,
Mm.
but like truly make sure your project is a success.
Someone who's got your back.
And hey, speaking of finding the perfect developer, have you heard of theperfectdeveloper.com?
That's a great resource.
It's like having a personal matchmaker, but for developers.
Takes all the guesswork out of it.
Before we even get started, do yourself a favor. Try out their 5 questions. It's at theperfectdeveloper.com. Super easy way to skip the research and find the right developer for your project.
Worth checking out.
Okay, now let's get down to business. First things first, what exactly does a VSS developer do all day?
It's way more than just writing code. It's about being the architect, the guardian of your entire code base.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
They're the ones who track every little change, make sure everything's backed up, and that you can always go back if you need to.
So they're like preventing total code chaos.
Right, exactly. They're the ones who make sure nothing gets lost, nothing gets overwritten, no spaghetti code nightmares.
So kind of like the librarians of the coding world.
Yeah, I like that analogy, except instead of books, they're dealing with lines of code.
Makes sense.
And instead of the Dewey Decimal System, it's all about Microsoft's Visual SourceSafe, or VSS.
Okay, so VSS is their thing. But how are they different from other developers? What makes them special?
Their superpower, code management. Other developers are busy building new features, new functionality. But VSS developers, they're the protectors of what's already there.
Huh, interesting.
They make sure everyone's working together smoothly, preventing conflicts, keeping that code base stable, even as it grows and changes.
So they're like the unsung heroes.
Absolutely.
Right.
They're the ones who keep things on track, preventing those dreaded project failures.
Well, I've been there. I once worked on a project where we had this massive version control issue. It was not pretty.
Oh, no.
Weeks of work. Just gone. We were scrambling.
Yeah, that's when you realize having a dedicated VSS expert, that's like having an insurance policy for your whole project.
Totally learned that the hard way.
Yeah, okay.
So to be effective, what skills do they absolutely need to have?
Well, first and foremost, they got to be fluent in Visual SourceSafe.
Right. Makes sense.
But it's more than just knowing the tool. They need a deep understanding of version control concepts, things like branching and merging.
Okay, hold on. For those of us who don't speak VSS,
Yeah.
what exactly do branching and merging mean?
Picture your code base as a tree. When developers are working on new features, they create a branch, basically a separate copy of the main code trunk.
I'm visualizing it.
This way, they can experiment, make changes without messing up the main code base.
Wow.
Then once their work is done, tested and everything, they merge that branch back into the main trunk, integrating the new feature seamlessly.
Ah, so it's all about keeping things organized
Yeah.
in the middle of all the coding chaos.
Exactly. And then there's rollback, another crucial skill.
Rollback.
Imagine a developer introduces a bug and crashes the whole system.
Oh, no.
With rollback, a VSS developer can basically rewind time, go back to a previous stable version.
Wow, so it's like a safety net.
Exactly. Prevents those catastrophic crashes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered the must-haves. Now what about the nice-to-haves, those extra skills that make a VSS developer really stand out?
Yeah, like what else did you look for?
Communication is huge. They're going to be working with other developers, project managers, maybe even clients.
So they got it good at explaining things.
Absolutely. Clear communication, a collaborative spirit, essential for any developer, but especially for someone who's managing the heart of the project.
Right. They need to be able to break down complex stuff in a way that everyone gets.
And when conflicts come up, which they always do, a skilled VSS developer can step in, find solutions, keep the project moving forward.
Okay, so now for the big question. How much is all this expertise going to cost you?
Well, like with any specialized skill set, it depends.
On what?
Experience level, location, whether you're hiring full-time, part-time, freelance, all these things factor in.
Okay, but give us a ballpark. What kind of salary are we talking about?
In North America and Europe, for a full-time experienced VSS developer in a major city, you're probably looking at $70,000 to $100,000 a year.
Okay.
And that's just an average. Senior level developers with specialized knowledge could command a lot more.
So a significant investment, but one that could save you headaches
Yeah.
and potentially even more money down the line.
Right, exactly. And if you're looking for something more budget-friendly, you could consider freelancers or remote workers. You might find rates around $30 to $50 an hour, especially in regions with a lower cost of living.
So options for different budgets and needs.
Exactly. But no matter your budget, finding the right VSS developer is crucial. And that's where the perfectdeveloper.com comes in.
They're really good at matching companies with developers.
Their 4-step verification process. It's amazing. Make sure you're only connecting with top talent, people who have the skills and the ability to thrive in a collaborative environment.
Sounds like they take the guesswork out of hiring. So if you're feeling a little lost, head over to theperfectdeveloper.com. Give their 5 questions a try.
Quick and easy way to find the perfect VSS developer for your specific needs.
It's funny, we always talk about those technical skills,
Right.
right, when we're hiring a VSS developer.
Right.
But those soft skills, just as important, maybe even more so.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Think about it. If you're the one in charge of that code base, you've got to be able to communicate with the rest of the team,
Yeah, makes sense.
anticipate problems, navigate those tricky situations. When conflicts pop up,
Because, let's be real, conflicts happen in every project.
exactly. You need someone who's not just a technical whiz with VSS, but also someone who can bridge the gap between different developers.
Like a translator almost.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Making sure everyone's on the same page, understanding how the project is evolving.
So they're technically skilled, but also a strong communicator. Someone who brings the team together.
Exactly. Like the diplomats of the development world, smoothing things over, keeping everyone in sync.
Okay, I love the diplomats of development. So how do you even figure out if someone has those soft skills? During the hiring process.
You got to ask the right questions. Don't just focus on their VSS experience. Dig deeper.
Like what kind of questions?
Ask about their problem-solving approach, how they handle conflicts, how they make sure communication is flowing within the team.
So instead of saying, hey, do you know branching and merging? You'd ask something like, tell me about a time you had to deal with a really tricky merging conflict. What did you do? How did you communicate with the other developers?
Perfect example. You want to see how they think, how they communicate, how they work with others under pressure?
And if you're thinking about hiring a freelancer, maybe give them a little trial task,
Oh, that's a good idea.
like a simulated merging conflict.
Yeah.
See how they handle it in a real-world scenario.
That's smart. You can actually observe their skills, their attention to detail, how they deal with those inevitable hiccups.
Because things always come up.
Right. Always. Okay, so we've talked about assessing skills, but let's be real for a second. VSS, it's an older system.
Yeah.
Are there any challenges, anything you should be aware of when you're hiring a VSS developer?
Yeah, I imagine there might be.
One of the big ones, compatibility with modern tools and workflows.
Right.
The development world is constantly evolving.
Oh, yeah?
And while VSS is still used in lots of places, it doesn't always play nicely with the latest and greatest tech.
So if your team's using cutting-edge tools, agile methodologies, there might be some friction.
Definitely a possibility. You got to be aware of that.
Right.
And factor it into your decision.
So you need a VFS developer who's not just a master of VSS,
Yeah.
but also adaptable.
Exactly. Someone who can bridge that gap between legacy systems and those modern workflows.
So like a VSS expert who's also comfortable in the ever-changing world of development.
You got it. They need to be a bit of a historian, understanding those legacy systems, but also a forward thinker, ready to adapt to new tools and methodologies.
So where do you find these people? Where do these adaptable VSS experts hang out?
This is where a platform like theperfectdeveloper.com can be a game changer.
They're good at finding those niche developers, aren't they?
They specialize in connecting companies with those highly skilled developers, including ones with deep VSS expertise.
Okay.
And their vetting process is really thorough. So, you're only getting introduced to candidates who actually meet your requirements.
Saves you so much time.
No more endless resumes, no more back-to-back interviews. They streamline the whole thing.
So if you're short on time, you need a reliable way to find top-notch VSS talent. Theperfectdeveloper.com is worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Right.
But finding the right person is just the first step. You also need to set them up for success.
Right. It's not just about hiring someone and then throwing them into the deep end.
Exactly. You need to provide the right environment, the right support,
Like what?
clear documentation. That's key.
Makes sense.
Make sure they have all the information they need about the project, The code base, your version control processes.
No scavenger hunts for info.
No way. They need to hit the ground running, and that means having everything laid out for them, clearly and comprehensively.
Makes sense. What else?
Collaboration. Encourage them to connect with the rest of the team. Participate in code reviews. Share their knowledge.
So it's about making them feel like a part of the team.
Exactly. Their role isn't just about managing that code base. It's about protecting the integrity of the whole project, making sure everyone is moving forward together.
I feel like we've covered so much ground here. This has been super insightful. Before we wrap up, though, I'm curious about something. So we've talked about how to hire a VSS developer, but why should someone actually do it? What's the real benefit? Like, why is it worth it?
You know, it's all about risk mitigation.
Really?
Think of them as your protection against all the things that can go wrong in a software project.
Okay, so what kind of things? Give me an example.
Imagine you've got multiple developers all working on the same code base
Okay.
without proper version control. It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I could see how that could be a problem.
Conflicting changes, files getting overwritten, work getting lost.
Oh yeah, weeks of progress just gone.
Exactly. And that's where a VSS developer steps in. They make sure every change is tracked, backed up, and you can always go back if you need to.
So no more panic attacks
Yeah.
when you realize you've lost a bunch of work.
No more panic attacks. And think about it. It's not just about managing the code. It's about managing stress levels, too.
Makes sense.
And when you're less stressed, you're more efficient, more productive, the project runs smoother.
So they're like the air traffic controllers of the code base.
Exactly, keeping everything flowing, preventing those collisions.
I like that analogy. So when you look at it that way, hiring a VSS developer seems like a pretty good investment.
Especially when you compare it to the cost of project delays. Or even worse, a complete failure.
Right, because those can be super expensive.
And then there's the peace of mind, knowing your code base is in expert hands.
Okay, so we've talked about the why. Now let's go back to the how. Where should someone start their search if they're ready to hire a VSS developer?
I mean, we've talked about theperfectdeveloper.com,
Yeah.
and I really do think they're the best place to start.
They make it sound so easy.
Their 5 questions process, it's brilliant. It just takes a few minutes. They figure out exactly what your project needs, and then they match you with the perfect VSS developer from their pool of pre-vetted talent.
So you don't have to wade through tons of resumes.
No more endless resumes, no more interviewing people who aren't a good fit.
Yeah.
They take care of all that.
Well, there you have it, folks. Everything you need to know about VSS developers, all in under 9 minutes.
If you're ready to add this essential expertise to your team, head over to theperfectdeveloper.com. Try out their 5 questions. It's the smartest move you can make.
It's like having your own personal recruiter focused on finding you the perfect developer.
And on that note, happy hiring, everyone.